Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. Today I'm going to be glitter epoxying my table. So this is a table that I use for my turners to spin my cups, and it's been looking a little dull lately, so I want to give it some life. So I'm going to make it pretty, and I've never done this before, so I don't know if it's going to be a fail. So I guess we'll see. We'll find out together. I had my husband get me some paint. This one is Bare Premium Plus, and he got it in a color purple. So it closely matches. This is the main color that I'm going to be using, Lily Rose. So yeah, let's just get to it. Okay, so I started off by cleaning the table with some Windex, and those are stains on the table that wouldn't come off, so I just painted right over it. I'm gonna paint this whole entire table with this roller and let it dry before giving it a second coat. I've had this table for a long time and I needed another one to epoxy, so I ended up ordering a second one from the Sam's Club website. I found it on Costco too, but I noticed on Costco the price was higher. I think I seen it for about $119, and on the Sam's Club website it was $89. So I just ended up ordering it from Sam's. So I'm just gonna fast forward this video a little bit faster. That way this video isn't too long. But what I'm just gonna be doing is just painting. Alright, so at this part, I've let the table fully dry. I'd say about 20 minutes. It dries pretty fast. So I'm just going to give it a second coat on the whole entire thing. Alright, so the next step, I've let the table dry for about a full hour. So now we're going to be mixing the epoxy. I am working in a ventilated area. My garage is open, but I always recommend wearing a respirator mask when you're working with epoxy, just to be safe. I'll leave the link to my respirator mask in the description below so you can get one if you don't already have one. So this little cup that I'm using is 8 ounces. I got a pack from the Dollar Tree. And this is the first time I'm making a table like this, so I'm starting off first with this cup, 1 cup of each, and later on you're gonna see that I add more because it wasn't enough. The epoxy that I'm using is Alumilite's Amazing Clear Cast, and I'll leave a link on the description below with the coupon code in case you guys wanted to save a little money. So I got 1 cup of each A and B into my little container that I also got from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just gonna mix this epoxy until it's all mixed together. After the epoxy is well mixed, I'm gonna add the glitter. So I sell these glitters on my website in 2-ounce baggies. So there is 1 2-ounce baggie inside this container. So little by little, you'll see me adding glitter. So I wasn't sure how much I needed. So I eventually ended up pouring that whole container, which was 1 of the 2-ounce baggies. You're just gonna keep stirring the glitter and the epoxy until everything is mixed together. Next, I added some chunky glitter. This one here is called Glitz, and this one is also available on my website. I'm not exactly sure, but I think I poured about half of the 2-ounce baggie in here. Next, I'm adding some of this Sweet 16 glitter into my epoxy. And same with this one, I'm not exactly sure, but I think I poured about half of the 2-ounce baggie. So 1 ounce of Sweet 16 and 1 ounce of Glitz. So you want to make sure you have a good amount of glitter inside your epoxy. That way it covers the table pretty good. Next, you're just going to pour the entire container onto the table and just rub it around. I just lightly rub the epoxy all over the table. Don't scrub too hard, that way you're not taking off too much epoxy. And I realized I didn't have enough, so I ended up mixing another batch of epoxy in those little cups. So I did the same amount of A and B inside the little cups. Next time I epoxy a table, I know to use the full 16 ounces of each A and B for the first layer, which is the glitter part. I was even putting the epoxy on the sides of the table. You'll see at the end of the video that the coverage wasn't that great on the sides because the epoxy self-levels, so it kept dripping. So the coverage wasn't that great, but you'll see at the end. Next step, I used my torch to pop any bubbles that rose to the top. And if you don't know how to use a torch, let me know and I could make you a video on how to use it, because when I first got the torch, I was so scared. I thought I was gonna burn my house down. But I know how to use it now. If you want a video of how to use it, let me know so I can make that. So I just went around the whole entire table, just sweeping it with the torch, trying to get all the air bubbles out. And you want to be very careful when you're using a torch. Even though I know how to use it, it still scares me just because it's a tank and it's explosive. So just be very, very careful when you're using it. So your table will start to drip because of the epoxy. So make sure about every 30 minutes or so, go around the table with your gloved finger and just wipe off the drips. While the table was still wet, I decided I wanted to make it look like marble. So I decided to add some epoxy with some mica powder and some white acrylic paint to give it that effect. So at first I was doing it like lines how I would normally do a tumbler. Then I started realizing it wasn't looking good. So then I just started doing scattered lines all over and just rubbing it to soften the lines so it wouldn't be so harsh. And when I was doing the random lines like a swirlies, it started looking better. So I did that all over the table until I was satisfied to how it looked. Alright, so we're on the second day. I let this dry overnight and it's nice and smooth for the most part, but there is some rough edges because of the glitter. And that was the first coat I did. So we're gonna be sealing the glitter off with the second coat. I had run out of epoxy, so we went to Michael's to go get 2 more boxes. I don't know how much I fully need yet, so we're gonna start off by using these full bottles. These are 8 ounces. And if this is not enough, I have another one. So I don't know how much I'm gonna use yet, but at the end I'll tell you how much epoxy I fully use. And I'm gonna be reusing this little container that I used to mix the epoxy when I first did the first layer. And I got this from the Dollar Tree. And we're gonna reuse this. All you gotta do is just like, you know, pick a little corner and this comes off because it's plastic. So you just gotta pick the corner and just pull it off. And I'm just gonna clean it up. And yeah, I'm just rambling. So let me clean this up and then we're gonna mix this epoxy and we're gonna just do it. I used a full amount of these 8-ounce bottles, and then I also double gloved my hands because with the first layer my hand was smelling like epoxy. So I made sure to double glove it and my hand didn't smell after. And make sure you mix the epoxy very well. If you don't, you're gonna have a sticky table at the end. Next, you're just gonna pour the whole entire container onto the table and just rub it around like you did the first layer. One of the most important things you have to remember is about every 30 minutes or so, go around the table with your gloved hand and just rub all the drips, because if you don't, you're gonna have the drips dried onto the table and it's not gonna look good. So every 30 minutes until it dries, just go around the table. Alright guys, the table is now finished. I let it dry a full day so it's nice and hard and it's super shiny. I'll show you a close-up in just a second, but I just wanted to let you know the total epoxy I used was 32 ounces. So I used 16 at the beginning with the glitter, and then 16 at the end with the second coat. I only did 2 coats, the glitter coat and then the clear coat. How much glitter I used? I poured this whole bottle, as you've seen when I first did the glitter, but it was only one of these packets inside here. And then when I had ran out of epoxy, I mixed more epoxy off to the side, and I used a full second bag. So 2 bags of these Lily Rose, and then I gave it a good pour of these Sweet 16 and the Glitz. I probably used like about half a bag. So that's how much glitter I used. 2 of these, and then half a bag of these 2, if that makes sense. What else did I need to say? Epoxy, glitter, some things I wish I wouldn't have done was I wish I wouldn't have put the glitter like down to the sides, because there is some rough edges because of the glitter. And when I put the second coat of epoxy, of course the epoxy is gonna level itself out. So it dripped a lot. So there's still some rough edges. I could sand it and give it another coat, but I'm not gonna do that because it's just, this table is just for my turners, so it's not really a big deal. But for my next table I use, it's gonna be just like a glitter table, and I don't think I'm gonna be putting glitter on the sides. But that's up to you what you guys wanna do. That's just what I wouldn't do on the next time around, because it is a little bit rough. And then when I did like the marble swirls, I was doing it like lines, like when I do a tumbler, I make the swirlies like straight across, and then I start like blending it. So I try to do that with the table, but it wasn't looking good. So you can see how I just like started doing it randomly, and the random swirls look the best. Okay, you can see the table, it's really nice and shiny. It looks like glass. And the glitter is just super sparkly, and it looks really good. And then how I was saying how the epoxy levels itself out, you can see that there's kind of like patchy spots on the sides, because when it drips, you know, it takes down the glitter too. So, but that's how the sides came out. And the swirlies, let me show you the swirlies that I'm talking about. And the swirlies, this is how the swirls came out. See, the random swirls look the best. And here's when I was doing like the straight lines. It doesn't look that good, but I'm still happy how this overall came out. Let me just give you the walk around. I keep stepping on the tarp. But yeah, here it is. Super nice and glossy, and very, very shiny. Alright, so that's it for today's video. If you guys decide to make this table, please tag me on Instagram. I would love to see the creations that you make. Different colors, different designs. I'd love to see it. That's it for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.